28 at the A12 to 31 at Lakeside. It's after an accident. All the lanes are back open, but there are still severe delays on the main carriageway and on the surrounding routes, and also on the A13 from Tilbury and the A127 from Basildon. Now, elsewhere, there are delays on the M1 northbound in Buckinghamshire to junction 14 at Milton Keynes, and that's following an accident where 2 of the 4 lanes are closed. In Cheshire, there are delays on the M56 eastbound to junction 7 at Bowden after a van broke down. That's just been recovered. And in Greater Manchester, delays on the M61 southbound to junction 3 at the Kersley Spur. The exit slip road remains closed.
This is LBC.
Auto Sergey finds you better car insurance deals before your renewal date, completely automatically. So you can take your hands off the wheel.
Not literally, though.
Sit back.
Not literally.
And just let go.
Oh, not literally.
Because Auto Sergey will take care of your car insurance worries for you.
No. Oh yeah, literally. You meant make up your car insurance with Compare the Market to automatically find ways to save. Simples.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Hi, Nick Knowles here. These days we're all concerned with the rising price of energy and how to be more sustainable. But the team at Euronics have got some great solutions. Like, did you know induction hobs are more energy efficient because heat is delivered directly into the pan? Choose from brands like Blomberg and Neff. And with over 600 Euronics stores nationwide, you can just pop in or give them a call. For great local service, just ask.
Euronics.
So you want a great new car, we got Dallas Twist galore. And it's more just the dealers you'll deliver to your door. Every car includes a warranty. This is what we do, and we guarantee you love it. We'll give your money back to you.
Whether you're buying online or through our trusted dealers, feel good your way with Hey Car. T's and C's apply.
When it feels like money's tight, it's good to know that at Tesco, we price match hundreds of products to Aldi every week. From strawberries to crumpets. So you can be sure you'll find the products that matter most to you. Because right now, every little helps. Prices match pro rata and checked on hundreds of comparable products from GBLD stores and or online twice weekly. Price most often found matched excluding promotions. Products match vary by week and availability varies by store excluding Express and Northern Ireland. Details tesco.com/Aldi price match.
Hello. Albert Einstein here. Today I've been visiting some smart local businesses. They use smart meters, which help them feel more in control of budgeting for their business. Smart meters send gas and electricity readings straight to their supplier. So rather than estimates, they'll receive accurate energy bills, meaning they'll know exactly how much they're spending each month. Smart. Like me.
Get a smart meter for your business by searching Get a Smart Meter today. Eligibility may vary.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973.
8:21 is the time. A couple of emails. Graham in Bushy. If it was a working day, why should they be drinking alcohol during it? I suppose in fairness it was quite late in the night. Sean in Surrey. You suddenly seem interested in parties after telling us they didn't matter, spending far more time questioning about that than talking about rising food prices. This is pathetic, says Sean. Thank you for that. I did say. We have done considerable coverage of what might have gone on. Barbara Foreman says, a pre-arranged birthday cake gathering and eating a meal during work are two different things in relation to breaking and not breaking COVID rules. We've got Manuela in Croydon at last. Manuela, your view. Good morning.
Good morning. So I'm one of those pesky foreigners who can't vote because I'm not a British citizen, and I don't have an axe to grind, so I can't vote for either one of them.
All right, so you're not pesky to me, by the way, but do go on.
Okay, thank you. But I was watching GMB this morning, and Keir Starmer was on there.
Oh, right.
And he categorically said that the police are not investigating. They haven't contacted him to investigate. He talked about the event that everybody's calling a party. And the event was, they were on the campaign trail. Mm-hmm. I have no idea about how these things work, but they were preparing for the next day's whatever. Right. And so at that time, you could really get takeaways because everything was shut. And it was brought in, put in the kitchen, and everybody went by themselves one at a time to go and get their food and eat at their desk because they were preparing for the next day. It seems like a plausible thing. I mean, the Daily Mail, I think it was last week, they put a picture, and underneath it they said it has been investigated by the police and no wrongdoing has been found. So it feels to me, and I don't know anything about politics very much, but it seems to me, because of the elections coming up in 2 days' time, the government are trying to find ways of just smearing as much as possible. But given the fact that it has been investigated and no wrongdoing was found, compared to Partygate in the number 10 and all those different parties, so many people have been already fined. But the Sue Gray report seems to people are saying that it's going to be very detrimental to Boris. So you kind of think that maybe it's just a bit of trying to get...
Okay, I hear you, and I would agree with you, save for the fact that journalists have found three people who claim to be witnesses, two of whom have video, and they weren't spoken to at all. Now, does not fresh evidence mean we need to have a fresh set of eyes on this, a fresh investigation?
But that's up to the police, and if the police have decided not to, then who are we to judge?
Well, we are totally there because we pay their wages. And I say again, if there is a potential for having broken the law, and we have three people who witnessed it, none of whom have spoken with the police, aren't the police duty bound to go back to them?
I guess so, but they haven't. And this story has been rolling for like over a week now, and nothing has happened so far. So you kind of think, well, how much credence is there to all this?
Okay. Well, I say again, if it was another potential crime, and you suddenly found that journalists or other people had found three witnesses, and policemen... the other way around, if this was going on with the Prime Minister, with Boris Johnson, it would be the end of the world. There'd be claims about collusion or everything else. But because it would appear to everybody say, no, it was a work event. Manuela, thank you. Martin and Aberystwyth. Martin, you're on the radio. Good morning.
Oh, yeah, I came on the show about last week, and you asked me was more important, Partygate or the cost of living. I said to you, both are just equally as important as the other one.
Yes, and is the beer in Durham important?
Yeah, well, if there was a Starmer and the rest of them should talk, because he's an advocate for saying that, and I'm not. I used to be a member of the Labour Party, so I'm not. That's all right. But you said, and the Daily Mail said that, don't you know there's a war on? So why are we talking about it now?
Because fresh evidence has come up. I say for the third time, people are coming forward who were at the event who had not spoken about this last week. If we take another example of far greater circumstances, but if people came forward to talk about the disappearance of the woman whose body was found last week and said three people, you would want to talk to them. If three people came forward about any possible crime, you'd want to speak to them, but apparently we don't on this one, Martin.
All I want to say, if he was at these parties, Starmer and the rest of them, he's a hypocrite. He should go, and Johnson should go. It's terrible.
All right. Martin, thank you for that. More calls on this in a moment. 8:26 is the time. Let's bring into the conversation Labour MP and Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, who joins me now. If it is true that a woman, a widow indeed, in her late 70s has to spend all day travelling on the bus to keep warm, what would a Labour government to ensure that woman, if the story were true, were better treated? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Well, it was a really sad story yesterday from Elsie about her experience. What Labour have said is that there must be a windfall tax on the huge profits being made by North Sea oil and gas companies. We saw yesterday BP in just 3 months made more than 5 billion or almost £5 billion in profit, and use that money from the windfall tax to take up to £600 off the bills of people like Elsie and other families and pensioners around the country who are struggling right now with the cost of living crisis.
The government would say, BP might even say, that would prevent them exploring fossil fuel alternatives. It could prevent their R&D, research and development. And they, of course, pay considerable amounts in tax. The more they make, the more they pay in tax anyway. Rachel Reeves.
The chief executive of BP, Bernard Looney, said yesterday that a windfall tax wouldn't affect one single project investment. So while the Chancellor said last week that he doesn't want to deter investment, you've now got the chief executive of one of these oil and gas companies saying, well, it wouldn't deter investment. So what is it that is stopping the Chancellor and the government from actually doing the right thing and introducing that windfall tax to help people with this extraordinary cost of living crisis and these huge pressures that people are under and that are coming from all sides. Food prices going up, petrol prices going up, the gas and electricity bills. And the government's response is actually to increase taxes on working people through the national insurance contribution increase, while the Labour response would be to introduce a windfall tax to take money off people's bills.
Can I ask what Labour's stance is on the so-called Rwanda plan? This is the idea that migrants are sent to that country for processing.
I think it's immoral. I also think it is unworkable. And even the government are now saying it's going to be months and months before anybody is actually extradited to Rwanda.
So what is the solution?
What we actually need is much greater cooperation with France and other European countries and to crack down on the criminal gangs. Those are the people who should be held to account and slung in jail, I think, for what they are doing to vulnerable migrants who are fleeing often violence and persecution. That is where all of the efforts should be focused, and not on an unworkable and frankly immoral scheme that I just don't think is going to work.
So how are the people traffickers? How are the people traffickers to be targeted? How would that take place?
We need to use our police and our intelligence services to be infiltrating these gangs and ensure that the criminal gangs face justice for their criminal wrongdoing and exploiting some of the most vulnerable people. That will also require much greater cooperation than what we have today with France, because, of course, these criminal gangs operate across borders. So that cooperation and cracking down on these gangs that are exploiting the vulnerable is the way to deal with this, not this expensive, unworkable and immoral scheme of the government.
So just to clarify, you want British police officers to go undercover on French soil?
I want our intelligence services and our police to work with authorities in France and across Europe to bring these gangs to justice, to ensure that people are not being exploited like they are today. And that is going to require much greater cooperation. But that is how you get to the root of this issue. And we're seeing in recent days more people trying to cross the border. So the government, for all its rhetoric, are not actually doing what the public want to see, which is to get a grip of the numbers of people that are coming to Britain and who are sadly, in many cases, losing their lives in that crossing.
Okay, lastly, how would you answer the charge that Sir Keir Starmer is being extraordinarily hypocritical in his pious attitude to what might have gone on inside Number 10 regarding Prosecco and birthday cakes, with what we appear might have gone on in Durham with a number of his colleagues and beer and curry?
Well, Durham police have looked at the incident that was reported in Durham and found that there was no wrongdoing. That is a million miles apart from the industrial scale rule breaking that we saw at Number 10 Downing Street with the Prime Minister, the Chancellor, and more than 50 fines already issued. So they are a million miles apart, and that is why Durham police found that there was no case to answer.
But more witnesses have come forward, Reg, subsequently have come forward. We have two people who would appear videoed the event and a man who delivered the curry. In light of fresh evidence, surely there now needs to be another inquiry by Durham police.
Well, that's up to Durham police.
Well,
but
you say
my understanding is that they haven't approached Keir Starmer or his office. Don't have an intention of reopening that investigation. That the Tories are trying to deflect and distract from their own rule breaking and law breaking.
It's not the Tories, is it? It's a man who delivered the curry and two people who videoed it. Unless they're secret Conservative MPs or workers, it's a curry delivery man.
It is the Conservative MPs who are writing letters to Durham police asking them to reopen this investigation. Durham police have looked at this, have looked at the facts and found there was no case to answer. That's very different, Nick, from the Metropolitan Police, who have issued more than 50 fines.
Sir Keir said people in public have to be beyond, have to utterly appropriate behaviour. It looks like he hasn't.
Well, Keir and the team were working just a few days before last year's local elections. They worked all day out campaigning on the phones for those crucial local elections. They had some food and a drink, and then they carried on working. That is within
Chancellor and, of course, Labour MP for Leeds West. It's 8:32. We've gone over the time. This is Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, on LBC The News. This was Simon Conway.
The European Commission President has proposed a ban on Russian oil imports to EU countries by the end of the year. Ursula von der Leyen has been setting out a sixth round